Hello, everyone. Today we are sitting down for a very exciting thing. We have not done this podcast in a really long time, and it used to just be little old me doing it, but now I have Eric, awesome Eric, sitting down with me. We have decided to make this a joint effort and bring you guys some more information on what it's like to buy a house, and also just kind of sit down and chat with us about how life is going. So, Eric, you want to introduce yourself? Tell them a little bit about you since they haven't met you before.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Eric Valor, as my beautiful wife introduced. I've been a lifelong resident of Georgia ever since the age of 3, where my parents came over from Texas, and I'm excited to be able to talk about this state that I've grown to love so much.
Whenever you tell that story, I think it's so interesting. Like the fact that we were both born in Texas and then moved here and then met here. I just think that's so wild. So
it's wonderful.
Like Eric, for those of you who don't know, I've also grown up most of my life in Georgia. I moved over, I think I was like 3 as well. So pretty much the exact same thing. And then
something was going on in Texas where our parents needed to get
everyone was fleeing to Georgia.
Right?
It's funny. We get people moving from Texas, I feel like relatively often now too. And then New York and California. I feel like that's happening a lot.
It's a mass exodus from the major metropolitan areas, just right on down for a little bit of acreage in Georgia.
I genuinely think it's because we have the mountains here versus Texas too. Like I have such distinct memories of driving through Texas and how flat that it feels that whenever we came back to Georgia as a kid, I was like, oh my gosh, trees. And we go up and down a little bit. We're not just like driving flat.
That's one of my favorite parts about Georgia over Texas would be the trees. I love just the verdant greens and stuff. And that was something that personally I was really missing in Texas at the age of 2.
Yeah. I know we were both very hoity-toity. Even while young, we said, Mom, Dad, please move us to this random state of Georgia. But anyway, for those of you who don't know me very well, like he said, and like I said earlier, we both grew up in Georgia. We've lived here forever. And we actually, we're both married. We're married to each other specifically.
Yes. Let's get that written down.
Yeah, exactly.
Just in case.
Write it down. We've been together about 10 years now. We went to Cherokee High School, and that's where we met. And then we've been married about 4 years now. So time has flown by, and we haven't gotten sick of each other yet. So I count that as a win.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, because I'm definitely not sick over here.
Good. Me either. And the reason that we're both on this podcast and why we wanted to kind of sit down and talk to you guys is we both run Homes by Valor. We're a real estate team. And so there is a lot of stuff that we see in our industry that I feel like I wish more people knew about. And I wish that real estate felt more accessible, just because I think for a lot of people, the idea of owning a house, especially for those people our age, there's this whole myth that it has become impossible, that it's become too expensive. And while it has become very expensive, this whole podcast is going to be focused around, number one, like I said, getting to know us a little bit better, but also giving you guys the tools that you need in order to make home ownership accessible and exciting. So
I think that's an extremely admirable goal that we're going to be trying to strive for every single episode. And I'm excited to see where it goes.
Awesome. So we wanted to go ahead and kind of start out with a little bit of a fun segment that we hope you guys enjoy and that we want to make a regular part of the podcast. And that is going to be the best thing that we ate or drank around Canton this week. Just because we both try to get out as much as we can and enjoy the delicious restaurants and coffee shops and everything that have popped up around Canton. And I'll let you talk about this too. But to me, it's crazy how many really cute restaurants and things have popped up the last few years especially. So.
Absolutely. I'm so proud of how many mom and pop shops have been able to spring up in the Canton and honestly Cherokee County area. It's been wonderful. And this segment's a wonderful excuse to be able to get out there and try those awesome places.
I'm really excited that as we look forward to doing this segment each week, I'm like, oh gosh, for work, Eric, we've got to go out and have a delicious meal. I'm like, darn it, I just have to to get a coffee. I'm sorry. I've got to do it.
This donut is purely for business.
Yeah.
It's not that I want to eat it. No.
Yeah, we have to.
Yeah.
So why don't you go ahead and go first? You can talk about your favorite thing because I think they're different. I'm excited to hear about yours.
Yeah, we've kind of keeping our answers hidden from each other, so it's a little bit more of a surprise factor whenever we talk. So my place I chose today was actually Wicked Wings. So specifically,
that's a good one.
The location over on Sixes Road, right in front of the Bridge Mill entrance. And oh my gosh, they have so many fantastic foods to choose from. My entree of choice from there is actually the Sixes Burger. It's a smash patty, double smash patty. Fried egg on top. Oh my gosh, that melts in your mouth with the brioche bun on top. Whew.
Yeah,
Love that one.
That is a really good one. We have spent so much money at Wicked Wings in the past like 4 years that we've lived around them.
Exactly.
Like I really love the Sixes burger too. For those of you who are listening for our culinary expertise, that's a really good one. They actually switched over from like a big juicy patty to those smash burger style.
It's been a nice switch. I've really liked it.
Maybe like 6 months ago, but it's so good. And it has so much moisture and it's cooked perfectly every time.
Yeah.
But my life hack there is when you're ordering a burger, if you want kind of that wing taste as well, or you're missing, like you can't decide which one to get, go ahead and get fries or tots on the side and then order a dipping wing sauce. So I love their garlic parmesan wings, but I love it because of the sauce. Like the wings are amazing, but the sauce, like I just want to drink it.
You live for the sauce, right?
You can order the delicious burger and then order a side of fries and just get the dipping wing sauce on the side. I think it's like $1 and you feel like you've had both meals.
Exactly.
So
no, it's really good.
There's your brilliant life hack. It's already been worth listening to the podcast, so you're welcome.
So if you're recommending the garlic parm, I'm going to recommend the chipotle citrus.
Oh, yeah, you love that
is
one.
a wonderful glaze. It has a little bit of kick, but also has a nice citrus kind of inlay on it. It's really nice.
How spicy do you think it actually is? Because for those of you who don't know, he literally his spice level tolerance is insane.
Yeah,
like I cry just being around his food, and I do have baby mouth, but just be warned.
No. Kate always tells me all the time that something probably happened in my early childhood where all my taste buds got burnt off.
I think you must have eaten lightning. Like I literally don't understand how you get through such spicy things, and they don't even faze you. Like
so realistically, I don't know if I'm the best measure of spice, but I'd probably rate it as like a 2 out of 10 on the spice level.
So probably give it like a 4 or 5 out of 10. Just double it and stay safe. But I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I do highly recommend Wicked Wings. So I think that's a really good.
What was yours then?
Mine. I have 2 loves in life. You and Bizarre Coffee in Canton, Georgia. I'm not kidding. I love Bizarre Coffee so much. And I always go a little bit into morning when they go from spring to summer, because the spring menu always has the wild blue coffee on it.
That's a good one.
For those of you who haven't gone to Bizarre, their whole thing is that they make like bizarre coffees. So sure, you can go and get a delicious caramel latte or a vanilla latte or whatever, but I highly recommend going and getting one of their funky spring or summer flavors. The wild blue is like blueberry with macadamia cold foam and vanilla, and it is so good. Like that fruity element. The first time I saw it on the menu, I thought it looked disgusting, to be honest. I'm a picky person, so when I see something that seems weird, my initial instinct is to go, oh no, I could never. But I ordered it because one of my clients, I met them for coffee there, recommended it, and it has been my addiction ever since. So I wish I could tell you that was what I'd had this week, but unfortunately they just switched to the summer menu. And their summer coffees are really good too. The summer straub is what I'm having right now, which is
like the analog almost.
Yeah, it's also very good. I actually like to order it without the strawberry sprinkle style things on top, just because they like slightly trigger my texture issues, and we don't need to lean into crazy. We need to lean away.
Exactly.
So I really love the summer straub. It's got delicious flavors. It's still got that like fruity styleness to it. So I love that. And when I went there, I splurged a little bit, and I got their, what is it called? It's basically their breakfast sandwich with a croissant.
It's like an egg croissant sandwich situation.
I don't know what it's called, but definitely that was worth getting to. I don't know if you've had one of those yet, but you definitely should.
I have. I've had the honey bun from there, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's basically a honey bun and coffee. And
that's really good.
I really enjoyed that. And then also the apple pie chai.
Oh, that one is so good.
It's a go-to. It's always available, so you don't have to worry about the cyclic style of the
other orders.
Seasons.
Yeah, the apple pie chai is a solid go-to. If you like almost like that cinnamony but sweet style flavor, it almost reminds me of like a snickerdoodle, but with a little bit of almost fruit sweetness too. So that's a really good one. But yeah, that's my favorite thing I've had around Canton this week, even though it's not my wild blue, but it was still incredible coffee, and I'm really glad I got to go.
Well, that's fantastic. I think it's a fantastic place, not only just to go and indulge for a little bit, but it's a fun outing for some friends.
Totally agree. Yeah, I love going with one of my friends, Kayla. We actually were doing some filming for some of our upcoming videos around Canton, and so we went and we stopped in there. So definitely add it to your list if you haven't gone, and you should add it more to your list so that I feel less guilty about my obsession with that we can both love them together all the time.
You're definitely more of a coffee head than I am.
I know. It's so bad, but I've chosen to lean in and just accept the identity and drink all the coffee, right?
Exactly.
You got to do it.
You'll drink enough for both of us.
Sounds good to me. That is an acceptable plan. The next thing I kind of wanted to use this podcast for is to talk about some of the questions that we get all the time. Just because, like I said, I want this to be a really fun and entertaining podcast, but I also want people to learn something out of it. So I looked at the camera because I want you to learn something out of it. I want everyone to kind of get an idea of what it's really like to buy a house and what kinds of things you can do to make it easier and what kinds of questions people ask us that immediately make me go, ooh, okay, they don't know a ton about this, so let's teach them. Let's make this easier.
Exactly.
So,
education is such a big part of being a real estate agent.
Absolutely.
That it's almost all encompassing in every avenue. You know?
We're definitely like teachers first, psychologists next, and then like salespeople at the bottom of the list, I feel like. So one of the first questions that I wanted to make sure we talk about, because you're such an expert on it, and I'm so glad you're doing this podcast with me, is when people are looking to build and they're trying to look on Zillow or Realtor.com or our website for homesbyvalor.com, by the way, when they're looking for land, what kinds of things should they even be looking for? What's the whole deal with building? Like, what does that process look like when people are so desperate because they don't see the ideal house already existing?
Exactly. I completely hear that. I get that question all the time, personally. I think approach the situation as you would when you're trying to find an actual home. Mm-hmm. What kind of location do you want to be in? Are you moving because it's going to be a second home? Is it going to be one of you're going to retire in? What do you want to be close to as far as location wise? That honestly has such a big impact on what kind of inventory for land that is available. Yeah. And not just inventory, but quality of inventory is really big. So in a place like Jasper, there's going to be a ton of plots of land, but some of them can be, the side of a mountain. Yeah. And that's not good at all. Unless you're going for like a double basement or something crazy, oftentimes these parcels of lands aren't even really usable.
Yeah, I'll just go ahead and interject there. I had a client reach out the other day about an $8,000 piece of land, and $8,000 is a lot of money. So this is not me saying, it was only $8,000, but unfortunately when it comes to land, if you're seeing an $8,000 piece of land, especially in an area that's already pretty populated, that thing is going to be a flood zone, or it's going to be straight on the side of a cliff and incredibly unbuildable, or you're going to have a lot of infrastructure you have to develop that will make up for that cost. I mean, what kinds of ranges are you seeing as far as actually good pieces of land that people are actually liking when they go out to see them?
So for generally usable pieces of land, and I'll just continue with the Jasper area, it's around $10,000 to $20,000 per acre. And it varies within that, depending on location, how far away from city centers, if there's water available on it.
And a lot of times, most of these parcels are pretty big, right? Yes. We're not looking at 1 acre parcels, so you can't get by with spending $10,000 to $20,000 most of the time. It's going to be a 5 acre parcel, or at least a 3 acre parcel. And generally, a lot of these are pretty big. You might have 12 acre or 15 acre because the owner wants to sell everything at once. They don't want to parcel it into tiny little pieces and spend that money to do that at the county.
100% true. That's very important to keep in mind. Oftentimes these parcels are 10 or greater. Yeah. In a lot of instances. And when they're not, is whenever it's already been kind of subdivided and there's going to be a surplus on charge because a lot of them have been cleared already. Right. That's another aspect you need to look into. Not just the land itself, but how do you get to the point where you're actually able to use the land and enjoy the land? Yeah. Right? So there's a couple of things that you want to keep in mind when you're going to be, potentially building on a parcel. And of course, you should have these conversations with your builder as well, because they're going to have more updated information, possibly, more input on this. But something that you should keep in mind, at least in your back pocket, is where am I going to put a septic tank? Yeah. Because a lot of these parcels out in where you're going to have the privacy that you want are not going to have access to public sewer.
Yeah, because most of the time, as long as it's at least 0.5 or larger, 0.5 acres, I mean, you're going to have your own septic tank. Exactly. So just keep that in mind, because you need toilets, I assume. And so you want to be able to put them in. And even if you are randomly someone who doesn't think you need a toilet, the government will think that you will, and they're going to require septic permits before you build. True. So you're not going to be able to get away with it. You do have to have the perk test done so that you can
that perk test is something very important to actually know. so in order to figure out where you can put a septic tank on a piece of land, you need to get something called a level 3 soil survey, or colloquially known as a perc test.
Yep, PERC, by the way. It's for percolation, not like, a perk of this is. I
the perk is
learned
being
that
able
at
to
the
use the
beginning.
bathroom, right?
Yeah, exactly. Love that perk.
Yeah. So, the rates on those vary, from company to company, but generally it's going to be around $800 or so.
Yeah.
And also when you're looking at that timeline nowadays, I mean, those scientists are so far pushed back. I know recently, I think they're running around 5 to 6 weeks currently.
Yeah, that's a long time.
Yes.
I mean, that's a really long time. So make sure that if you're working with an agent other than us, you make sure to have that conversation before you ever submit an offer, because you want your due diligence to last that long, so that if for some reason the land doesn't perk, you aren't stuck buying this piece of land that you can't even build a home on or risk losing your earnest money. So just make sure those protections are in place, because you're going to want to do the perk test.
Yeah.
And then if you have to have a survey done, you want enough time for that to happen as well.
Exactly. That's another really good point to make. Oftentimes on the larger pieces, or larger parcels, you'll find that there might not be an accurate survey that's currently filed with the county. So that's going to be another expense and, honestly, task that needs to be carried out before you close.
Yeah. What other kinds of expenses do you typically see? Because I know that this is not typically done before closing, but I also do want to give people an idea of, it's not just buying the land and then plop, there goes the house.
Exactly.
Like, there's also going to be grading to think about.
Grading, the driveway, how far back your house sits from the main thoroughfare that's going to be on. Well drilling.
Well is a huge deal.
Exactly. How far down you need to go for groundwater or an aquifer, what have you.
Yeah.
They charge by the foot they have to drill, and sometimes that can be over 600 feet.
Yeah.
So budgeting for that and keeping that in mind is extremely important.
A lot of times there's not a way to contact the neighbors to find out how much they spent, but it can be helpful if you do happen to have some sort of connection, or if you can speak with them regarding that, because even though it's not going to be the same as theirs, it is helpful to know how long they had to drill to get groundwater, or to get to the place where you can put in a well. So that's one little piece of advice.
Or if it's an area that's, properly being developed, rapidly. Oftentimes a well company will have gone out there and have some numbers of at least, within a mile, this is what it's looking like.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because that can be a really significant number. And I just think that a lot of people, they see these plans online, and maybe there are rough estimates of, this one will take $200,000 to build, or something like that. But by the time you buy the piece of land for $80,000 for a small piece of land, and then you develop the land, you're already at $150,000 or something, and then you have to do this, and then you have to do that, and
it just keeps
you end up spending maybe $200,000 more than if you'd bought a similar resale product.
Exactly.
Now, that's not guaranteed. It's going to depend on your builder, but a lot of times when people come to me saying, I just want to put a tiny little house in the middle of the woods, we have to have the conversation of, okay, let's work our way through this. Will it save you money? And so far, every time the answer has been no for me. Now, it has been worth it for a few clients to build, because they want something very special. They want something unique. They want the 30 acres. But if you're doing building to save money, that's where I just think it's really important to have that larger conversation first.
There's the want, and then there's also the financial capability. Right,
absolutely.
So if you're looking at maybe trying to finance this through a construction loan or something, oftentimes that construction loan rate is only locked in for a year of building, and then it goes to the market.
That's pretty scary, because I know that a lot of builders, they stay really busy, and a lot of these things are dependent upon how quickly the county approves permits. So it's not even just in your builder's hands. I would always recommend finding a builder who is an expert in that location, who has relationships with people at the county, who is building another house right now, because they'll have an idea of, that permit took 2 months to get, or it only took a month, or it only took 2 days. Having them be an expert in that field, that's beyond us a little bit. We can help connect you with some of, with good builders and stuff like that, but just make sure that you have a whole team that you trust who is going to look out for you. Is that what you would say? Do you have any other good advice for them?
I completely agree with that. Figuring out your team, who can get things done for you and look out for your best interest is paramount in, honestly, every single avenue of life, but especially when you're making a purchase this large.
Absolutely. I will say, just as a kind of nightmare not to give you nightmares, but I have seen a few. I'm working with an investor right now, and we have come across 4 different halfway finished houses because people started building and they took too many draws from the loan in the beginning, and they overspent based off of what they were doing in the beginning, and they ran out of money before the end. So there are houses where the loans are big and are starting to be due, and they didn't finish them. Right.
Okay.
And so that is such a nightmare. Every time I see those, like, I get so sad. And that's the last thing that I want to happen to someone. So just make sure you do your research before you start building, because, you know, it is one of those loans that if you don't really understand what you're doing, you can get in trouble pretty quickly.
Yeah. So advise caution. Advise every single thing that we can as far as being careful.
Be slightly nervous. Like, this is one of those things where I think you are building a product from the ground up, and that's incredible. You should do it. But before you do it, you should just make sure that you have all the knowledge that you need so that you don't end up with a half-finished house and, like, very, very sad outcome where you have to sell that.
Exactly. It's a great question. Wonderful one. I like it.
Yeah, I thought so too. Another thing that I wanted to kind of bring up today is it worth getting an inspection? Since that's on kind of the other side of things from building, it comes across with resale. I wanted us to kind of talk about why. I'll go ahead and spoil it. Yes, get an inspection. Please get an inspection.
Always get an inspection.
Definitely get an inspection. I think that's the smartest and most financially intelligent thing you can do when buying a house.
Say an inspection costs like $500 or so dollars. You could probably find enough things that you can negotiate down that $500 and recoup your costs right then and there.
Yeah.
And you have so much more of a knowledge base to jump off from getting into this house, figure out, all right, maybe what kind of water heater I have and how long that's going to last for. Now. It's such a wealth of knowledge that is hopefully understood, but needs to be reiterated.
Absolutely. I would say that 99% of the time my people get an inspection done, we are able to either negotiate, more money than what they spent on the inspection toward closing costs as a contribution, or if it's bad, we can leave.
Yes.
And they protect their earnest money, and they're not buying a house that they don't feel comfortable living in.
Exactly.
I think getting an inspection is just the smartest thing you can do, because hopefully you won't find much, but you'll find enough that you can have the seller fix for you before you move in.
And it's nice that the market's actually been kind of shifting more towards the middle, because we actually have time for inspections again.
Absolutely.
As opposed to just throwing caution to the wind.
And sort of going, okay, I'm just glad to have a house.
Right.
Please just let me live here. And then going from there.
The seller gets to name my firstborn, but at least I get to move into a house now.
Exactly. And then I will say that as far as inspections go, one thing that some people don't do is I actually encourage inspections on new construction as well. So when I say new construction in real estate talk, that basically means a house that usually builders build by community. So they'll come in and they'll put in, 100 houses or 200 houses or whatever.
Yes.
It's not you doing what we talked about before and buying land and doing it all yourselves. In the case of new construction through that builder where they're doing a whole community, if you do a new construction inspection, a lot of times they'll treat that almost as like a checklist, and they'll go through and they will correct things, because with every house, there's going to be a few things that come up, right? It's going to be a few shingles that weren't laid properly. It's going to be, this window was installed late at night and by someone who really wanted to go home and it wasn't done quite right. So I do recommend inspections on new construction as well, even though it feels brand new. It's usually a good idea just for peace of mind, and because the builders will typically treat it like a checklist unless they're being difficult, or unless your inspector is someone who's mentioning primarily cosmetic things and not things that the county would require. So do you have anything else about inspections or any stories you want to tell or anything like that?
Maybe also go into when you receive that inspection report, having a level head about it.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Oh, that's such good advice. Oh, that makes me think of something. Go for it.
Please, no. Sure.
I was going to say, go to your inspection.
Yes.
If you have the chance to do it, make sure that you go to your inspection, because it feels so scary to just receive a 60-page report, a 40-page report of here is what is wrong with your dream home. Like, that's very scary, but as much as I love inspectors and I encourage it, seeing those things in person often gives you way better context and makes you go, oh, okay, they're saying crack in doorway, but this is what that means. And it gives you a chance to ask your inspector while you're there, hey, I see this. What does this mean? You know?
Yeah, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much panic should I be having right now?
Exactly. And one of the best things I like to do is ask the inspector, what would your top 3 concerns be, right? If this were you, order them for me, right? What would be your big deals be? You know, and a lot of times that helps you kind of get things ordered in importance and context in your brain so that you're not just going, it's falling apart. Everything is terrible.
Right.
So I definitely recommend attending if you can. That's my big shebang. What about you? Anything else you want to add there?
I think we covered a lot of the bases.
Look at us go. We're so helpful already.
Yeah, right.
The other question that I wanted to just kind of bring up is there anything, if you're saving to buy a home, you know, let's say there's a first-time home buyer out there. What should they do to get prepped to buy their first home? And if they're dealing with credit cards and stuff like that, like what do we normally recommend to our clients who are thinking about buying but who maybe aren't totally ready?
I would say it is worth your time to talk to a lender.
I agree with that 100%.
Not just any lender, though, like a local lender or one that your realtor recommends, because those are the people that they trust to get, you know, anyone that they recommend across the finish line.
Yeah. A lot of times we'll have clients come in and they're like, oh, I got such good news. I went through Wells Fargo and I got pre-qualified for $700,000. And the questions I always ask are, did you do this through a computer or did you talk to someone? And did they pull your credit?
Yes.
Because a lot of times these online sort of very helpful tools that feel so easy to use and very modern and user-friendly will not actually do the work of looking behind the scenes. They'll just ask you to input how much you make, and then they'll run some numbers based off of the portion of your profile that they can see, but they don't always take into account the debt or if you've had poor credit history that's going to affect not only the rate you can get, but if you can get qualified at all.
And that work in lender speak that Kate is talking about is called the underwriting process.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I definitely recommend actually talking to someone that your real estate agent recommends. We do this all the time. We get paid, at least us, we don't get paid anything by lenders. I wish we did, because we work very closely with a few of them. And, you know, I trust our lenders very, they make the deals work.
Exactly.
I wouldn't recommend our buyers to lenders that couldn't get the deal closed, right? Yes. That I wouldn't trust, because I don't get paid until the closing table. You don't get paid until the closing table. We recommend people that will get you there, as long as it makes sense, right? Like, I think having someone that you can call or text at 7 p.m. because you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about it, but I'm about to have a really big credit card payment. Like, I'm going to pay this, but what do I do? Someone who will work with you to make sure that you're making great financial choices that set you up for success is a must.
Say you're an ordinary person and you've gone through a wonderful life, but you've made some credit mistakes in that
it
life,
happens.
Right? It happens to everyone. We know. We've all been there. They often have, the lenders, often have credit recovery programs that can help you get on the right track to buying your first home.
Yeah. So if you are, let's say, a year out, 2 years out, and you're really thinking, I think I'm going to be ready to buy a house soon. I've been saving, I've been doing this, but I don't know what my credit's like. And don't just take your FICO score on your Wells Fargo app or your Chase app or, you know, whatever kind of app you're looking at, because from what the lender explained to me from their end, there were like 3 actual scores that they pulled that they take an average
from like
of.
Equifax and all of them.
And it's like a deeper score than what you're seeing. So you're seeing kind of a cosmetic, helpful thing, but it's not the end all be all. So really talk with a lender. Give yourself time to fix things that come up so that you can be eligible for the best rate possible when you go to buy a house.
Yeah, I think that's excellent advice right there.
Okay. That is pretty much all the questions I wanted to cover there, but I did want to do one other fun little segment. Right. Let's see. Actually, I've got 2, but let's go ahead and start with one, and if we've got time, we'll do one more. But I wanted to ask you, and we'll both kind of give what our date night recommendation
All
for
right.
around Cherokee County might be for those who are not as familiar with the area or who are thinking about moving here or who live here but have been homebodies and are ready for some inspiration.
I think I want you to go first on this one.
Okay, I will go first on this one. Let's see, what do I want to say? I was going to potentially recommend Bazaar Coffee. If you're going on a little morning walk around, I really recommend grab a coffee, walk around town, hit a few of the little shops. There's this really cute one called Beloved that's right on the corner. But I really want to highlight the fact that Canton is doing First Fridays again. And what that is it's like the first Friday of every month. They have all of these vendors go and sit out on the street and have all this fun going on. And they've even got live music going.
The live music is a great selling point just to go by.
Fun.
Sometimes they incorporate car shows. It's honestly a really great time.
It's really great. And you don't have to pay for it. Generally, you just get to go and have a great time. So if you're looking for something to do, I think that's a really fun way to get to know other people in your community who are wanting to just go and have a fun Friday night. So I would definitely recommend that one.
Figure out some of the local businesses that you can help get in contact with. And, I'm always a big proponent of buying local, supporting local.
Absolutely.
All that sort of stuff.
Especially when we have such good local options around here.
Exactly. It's not hard.
10 years ago, maybe be like, no, go to Walmart.
Right.
But, now we have really, really great local options. Like if you haven't been to the Mill, that's another really good place to go.
Area.
I can't believe it. I walked through there the other day and I was like, this is amazing. This place has changed so much. It has good food. It has good shopping. It has cool places. So
the Mill's fantastic. The huge park initiative Canton's been putting on,
Absolutely.
Etowah River Park is getting just absolutely shot down the Etowah. So by that I mean they're adding bridges across it, wonderful green spaces. You can play any sort of sports you want, right?
Absolutely. Okay, I'm curious to hear, what is your date night recommendation?
So mine's more of a classic spot. It's Cherokee Lanes. So it's
you guys can see I'm a pampered woman at my bowling alley.
I'll have you know, in high school, it was the place to be to take all your friends and or prospective partners.
That's true. Hey, I had my first kiss in Cherokee Lanes.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
It can definitely be a solid date night place.
Exactly.
I hear you.
It's a great spot. So for those of you who don't know, Cherokee Lanes is a bowling alley.
Yep.
It's been with Cherokee and Canton
forever.
For as long as we can remember,
I think they put it in before the courthouse. No, I'm just kidding. It's just been there forever.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
They added laser tag, didn't they?
They have laser tag.
They
have a mini golf
now.
course. It's getting crazy. But I think my favorite part about it personally is how affordable it is.
Yeah, it is a really good spot if you're just looking to go for a fun little affordable date night, or you want to
even go with friends.
Yeah, we've gone with friends a few times in the last few years, and we always have a really good time. I mean, it's bowling, it's classic. So I actually think that's a really fun recommendation for those who like more of an activity date and aren't just wanting to go and eat a fancy dinner or whatever.
Yeah,
so,
more of an activity.
Good recommendation. Okay, kind of on that, I wanted to end with spouse trivia. Now, this has nothing to do with real estate, but I thought it would be kind of fun
Let me
just for
straighten
us
up in my chair a little bit
to add at the end of the podcast and see how we're doing, how we know things about each other or whatever.
All right.
We'll see if it's the only time we do this, but probably not. So Eric, do you want to start? I know we both prepared 3 questions each ahead of time.
In
kind
secret,
of
mind you.
Easy, medium, and hard level question. Do you want to ask yours first? And I'll see if I fail or not.
All right. So I think we'll start off pretty easy. Kate, what is my favorite color?
A sea foam blue.
Oh,
Had better be right.
So it's close.
Okay.
You got the blue right, but I like iceberg blue a little bit more.
You've changed that over the years then, because I definitely...
I move the post every now and again. I'll admit it.
When we were in high school, I still have this whole notes in his contact information of all the different questions and stuff that we asked each other, and it was seafoam blue back then. I still have written proof
I
of
have that on your profile still, so we'll go back and we'll check after the tapes.
That's fun. Oh, well, I've failed the easy question, which doesn't bode well.
Well, I can only go up from here, right?
Okay, hit me with the medium one.
For my medium, what is my favorite type of vacation to go on?
Cruise.
Yes. Absolutely.
And thank goodness we both aligned with that. Literally, it's been such a problem. Anna is on a cruise right now, and I'm
Kate's little sister, by the way.
Last minute cruise deals. We haven't signed up for one yet, but I'm itching to.
I mean, you get some really good deals on the cruises for the last minute booking, because they're just trying to shove whoever they can
Not
wherever
sponsored,
they can.
but we love cruises, so highly recommend. And I'm glad I got that one right. Okay, maybe I just don't know the easy ones.
And now Now, the hard one, now this one's probably going to be actually pretty difficult.
Oh, good
What was the
gracious.
name of the street that I grew up on when I moved to
Mount
Georgia?
Olive Church Lane.
Oh, you got it. Ding, 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 ding,
I
ding.
actually went to that house, so that one is not
That's fair.
like
But
the
it's a
worst
mouthful,
one.
so I thought it was going to be, you have to get 3 or 4, whatever.
No. I nailed it. That's good. I'm glad I only
Fantastic.
missed the easy one, but
It's all right. It's also tricky.
okay. For your easy question, who is my favorite author?
I'm going to have to go with Stephen King.
Yes, unexpected but true.
Yeah.
I absolutely cannot watch a scary movie to save my life, but I really like Stephen
Yeah.
King's writing. So that is a good one. I talk about it all the time, so that's why I figured it
Yeah,
was easy.
exactly. I think you're reading, like the 12th book by him now or something.
At least. I read everything by him. It's
What's
maybe
your favorite
15.
Stephen King book that you would recommend?
I really like Pet Sematary. That's
Yeah.
really good. And I don't know that I'd recommend any of these, to be honest. They're all kind of horrifying, but he's
Yeah.
really good at writing character development. Like, I
Yeah.
cry every time I read one of his books because someone does something very touching. I think he
Okay.
does a good job of, like, having people express joy
Yeah.
out of fear. Like, they've gone through really hard things and it brings
Exactly.
them closer together. And I'm such a softie. Like, I cry at, like, little kids' basketball games because
Yeah.
they're trying so hard and
Exactly.
stuff. So that kind of thing to me, people persevering, people pushing really
Yeah.
hard to, like, save the people they love. For some reason, that just gets me. So horrible things, unfortunately, have to
All
happen
right.
first in the Stephen King's
good
books.
one.
But there you go. Second one. I'm probably putting myself on blast here, and this is honestly embarrassing, but what gross thing did I do as a child? Specifically, I'll give you a hint, but my mom and sister talk about this all the time. It was like a one-time thing. This wasn't like a habit.
I mean, which one from the list, right? No,
Yeah.
I'm
Okay,
kidding.
it was something
I'm kidding. I'm
you
kidding.
know? Okay.
I honestly, did you eat worms?
I ate one worm, but yes,
One
you're
worm,
right.
okay.
That was what I
All
was
right.
going for. I had forgotten all about it, and then we were at Easter this year, and Anna was
Oh,
like,
man.
"Look, Kate, there's a worm. Eat it." And I was like, "What the heck? I haven't done that
Was
since
this
I was
like a live worm, or
No,
was
it was dead, but I was like 8 months old or something. Like, it was a gross one-time thing. But
It
good
wasn't-
job.
okay.
You nailed it. I think I've turned red. I don't know why I brought that up. I'm like
Yeah.
sweating.
It's
but
all right. We got one more.
It's fine. Okay, the next one isn't embarrassing, but what level of tennis do I play? Do you know?
Okay, so the different levels are like A, B, C, and then it's numbers,
And
right?
then there are numbers, yeah.
You're definitely high end of B, if not low A. You're like B2, B1,
What's your final answer, sir?
B1.
Okay, yes, you're pretty much right. I have been B1, but we won this year, and so we're moving up to A8, I
Oh
believe.
my goodness.
So
Okay, well there you go.
that's all right. I had to overcome the worm thing. I had to be like, yeah, sure, as a baby she ate gross stuff, but now look
Well,
how cool she
It
is.
sounds like it gave you some sort of tennis superpowers.
I know, absolutely. So there's our life hack, folks. Like, you're 8 months
Eat
old,
your
eat
worms,
gross
play your
worms,
tennis.
become an incredible tennis player.
Yeah.
But I guess that's all I've got for today.
Yeah.
Unless there's anything you wanted to add, any quick goodbyes you want to give to the people, any last minute advice or anything like that.
Be kind to others.
Yeah. I think that's a really wonderful thing. I was gonna say something about real estate, so now I'm like,
Okay, that's
"Oh, sorry.
No, go. Do it.
Well, I was just going to say that if you are looking to try and set yourself up for financial success,
Yeah.
you should at least consider buying a house, because
Yeah.
if you're not paying your mortgage, you're paying someone else's.
Mm-hmm.
And that is not a bad thing in some phases of
Yeah.
life, but once you're established enough that you can afford to pay your own mortgage and you want to start building financial wealth,
Yeah.
I absolutely recommend buying a house.
Or at
now,
least
I know
start
I'm
looking-
a little biased,
yeah.
but I'm biased because I see what a financial difference it's made in our lives and the lives of others.
Yeah. Even if you don't think you can afford a house, look into the process.
Yeah.
Talk to a lender. See how far away you are from that goal. Because oftentimes people can, afford houses they don't even know.
Yeah.
Because of government programs that are available, a whole slew of options. you know?
Absolutely.
So
So do all of that
Yep.
and be kind to people. And that's what
There you
we've got
go.
for you guys today. Hope you have a good one.
yeah, have a nice one.
Have a good one.